Welcome, everyone, to episode 3 of the Expedition Revival. In this episode, we are going to be removing the dash, all of it, which is going to involve a lot. As you can see, I already have the seats loose. They have been loose in the previous videos. And in the previous video, episode 2, I went ahead and painted the console panels. And the center console is back here. And it's looking real snazzy. That shifter does need some work. I could not get the detent to work on it, but you know, the rest of the stuff, that ColorBond paint made everything look real nice. It cleaned up good. So we're good to go there. But the biggest reason I'm pulling the dash out is, well, I mean, it does need to be painted. There's some scuff marks like here and here, and I do need to paint it. But the other thing is that the carpet needs to be replaced. Now, I have the carpet. It's right over there in that big old box. And it is, I don't know if it's the exact color, but it's a very similar color, and it should look pretty nice with this vehicle. But I have to get the carpet replaced. So the dash has to come out for that, and then I'm going to paint the dash while it's out, make it look all purty. So to get the dash out, I'm going to be fair with you, I'm not entirely sure how to do it, because I've never done it. I've had some dash components out on a Ford Super Duty, so I would assume this is kind of similar. I don't really know how much is involved. It looks to me that this silver here, this is all one giant integrated piece, right? So we're going to see, this is going to be more of an overview video than an instructional one, because, like I said, I've never pulled a dash out of these. So I don't know what all I'm going to actually have to remove. And in hindsight, I might discover some stuff I removed I didn't actually have to. But for ease of removal, I'm going to have the seats out of here. They're going to get moved. I know for a fact that there's a couple bolts down here that have to come out, part of the center console. So the center console had to come out, not a big deal. The steering column may have to come out, not sure. And the airbag here, is there an airbag still in there? Or is that just supposed to be like that? Well, regardless, when you're removing a dash and you have an airbag, you want to disconnect the battery and leave it sit. That way you don't accidentally trigger the airbag. So I don't know how long specifically on this vehicle you're supposed to let the battery sit disconnected. I would say anywhere from 2 hours or longer is good. This has been sitting for like a week and a half with the battery disconnected, so I'm very confident that the airbag is not going to trigger on me. If it does, then, well, you'll just have to watch the rest of the video to find out. So all that has to be done. Obviously, you can see I've removed the radio trim panel and stuff like that. The Chinese radio back there is going to go in when we are done. The dash won't be getting put back in today. It's cold. I don't know if you can tell, but the 6.4 there's got all sorts of frost on her. So it's a little chilly, which is typical for December. That's good, I guess. But it's not fun to remove plastic when your hands are numb. So I'll quit yapping and go ahead and get set up. We'll start removing stuff. I've already got a lot out of here, just the easy stuff. In case you decide you want to click off in the first couple minutes, which is fine, I'll leave you with this piece of advice. If you're removing anything trim related in a vehicle, it should come apart easy, okay? Yeah, it's fastened in with some screws and stuff, but it should pull apart without a heck of a lot of effort. If you really have to get in and pry on stuff to get it apart, there's a 99% chance you are doing it wrong, okay? And it's fastened somewhere with a little screw or a little bolt, and you need to get that out before you start yanking on these plastic pieces, because some of this stuff is irreplaceable. And if it's not irreplaceable, it's very, very expensive and very hard to find. So just be mindful of that. I will get these seats out of here, and we'll get started pulling this dash apart and see what all we can find. All right, well, sorry, I got to remember I'm actually supposed to film this. So before I get too far ahead of myself, I'm just working on the passenger side right now. I have already removed the glove box, and there are 3 screws that run along the bottom of this that hold the glove box in, and then you can work it out. There are 4 screws right underneath the lip of this airbag cover. Now, I thought that I could pull the airbag cover out, but it doesn't want to go, so I'm not going to try and fight it. I went ahead and removed this panel here just to see. I pulled the sill plate. Now, on pretty much all these vehicles, your sill plates just come straight up, but I do not recommend just coming at the end and just peeling it out, because you will break stuff. Okay? Get in with a trim remover tool or a screwdriver and work it out. And as I continue along for the carpet, I'll have to remove the rest of the stuff, but for the dash, that should be enough. This kick plate will have to come out, and there's another kick plate behind there. Now, it should just kind of, peel out like that, because that gives you access to your fuse compartment. And then this panel should, if it's anything like the Super Duties, should just pull straight back and come out, kind of. Get behind the, get behind the weather strip there and get to it, and it should just pull straight back without breaking it. Yep. Just like that, just pull straight back. It's a little more difficult with the weather stripping away. And good grief, did they get a lot of trash in this damn thing. This is going to need more work than I thought. I don't know who had this before, but they were filthy, filthy people. So that's just kind of what I've been up to. Right now, I'm working in the center. I'm getting those two black bolts out, and then I'll get those two silver ones there. And then we'll move over to the driver's side, get all that loose, and see where we're at. Okay, driver's side now, very similar to the passenger side. We have to remove this kick panel, and ew, very gross. So we have bolts like here, these two up here. Yeah, that one's over there. We've got some like right up in here and in there and around. There's some like back here. You just have to really take your time and find them. So, as you might be able to tell, it is loose. It wants to come out, but there's a few things still holding it in. Okay, so right here, it's tied. I think if you can get in there and maybe see a little bit of a screw back there. I don't know that that was factory, but if it was, I hate them for it. Because now what I have to do is take this mounting bracket loose, which is welded to everything else, just so I can get that screw out so that the dash will move, because I don't want to cut that or break it. Also, just as general advice, you can pull this weather strip off, this pinched welded seal right here, or seam. Your weather strip has metal in it, like wire, that's designed to shove on there and then kind of like crimp, you know, to hold it. So you can peel your weather strip off, and it should not be glued on. If it is, that was not the factory. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking around and seeing all the disgusting filth and whatnot. But there's got to be some other bolts and stuff in here somewhere holding this thing on. It's just a matter of finding them. So when I find them all and I get the dash loose, I will bring you guys back. All right, progress update. I got the airbag out. Turns out the reason it wasn't coming out is because there's 4 bolts back here. You can get to them from underneath, and that's what was holding the airbag in. That airbag's kind of heavy, and there's a connector on it, but once you get it loose, you can kind of work it out through here, and then you can see how to disconnect that wire there, and it's not too bad. I did take the trim panel that had the oh shit handle off, so that's done. I did have to take this bracket loose, which I figured I would have to. And I also discovered that I don't have to remove the dash to do the carpet. I don't have to. All I have to do is remove that bracket and the other stuff in the floor, and then you can do the carpet. But, you know, I've already committed to doing the dash, so we're going to keep going with it. Now, I am not sure how this thing is supposed to come apart, to be honest with you. I'm looking in here. I I thought that, you know, in theory, this thing would come loose without any issue. Just come loose from the metal. But it doesn't want to do that. Oh, never mind. Maybe I spoke too soon. Oh, the other thing I did, there's a trim panel that goes around the bottom right there. There was just one little black plastic rivet there. Popped it out. Came loose just fine. Let's go around to the other side here. And we'll take a look and see why it's not wanting to come loose on this side. Now, yeah, see, this should all be loose right now. The only thing I can figure, I know that that's back there, but there is no way for me to get that out unless I either break it or I take the entire dash frame out, which I don't really want to do. I just wanted to separate the plastic, but I don't know. Still working on it, but I thought I'd give you a little progress update. This is more involved than I thought it would be, but I'm not overly surprised. It's still not too bad. Just finding all the damn screws is difficult. So if I can, I don't want to have to take the whole frame out. That's what I'm trying to avoid, but I may have to. Big thing is I got the airbag out, so I'll bring you guys back here in a few more minutes when I figure out something new. So I think I'm finally down to the last few fasteners. Maybe there's something somewhere that is still holding this, because it should be more loose than it is given how many screws I've taken out. So I am doing something that I really didn't want to do, which is I'm going to take the steering column out, and then I'll be able to crawl around back in there and find the rest of the fasteners holding this damn thing on, and excuse me, and get it off. And I've got my mat laid down. So I've already got all the wires disconnected that go into the steering column. There's a lot of those. And then I'm going to get some straps and wrap around this and try and tie it off and hold it, because once you disconnect it from the steering shaft down underneath, this will spin and screw up that clock spring. So you want to avoid that. So I'm going to get to work on this, and it'll be a few hours for me, but just a few seconds for you. And when we come back, this will be out of here. Almost forgot. I did pull the fuse panel that was sitting over there. I disconnected all those wires, and I unscrewed the fuse box, and I pulled that out. I don't know that I had to, but I went ahead and did that anyway. And then I forgot to mention the bezel, the trim that goes up here for the defroster vents. Well, I mean, it's very fragile, so be careful with it. But I went ahead and pulled all that out, and I see a screw right there that might also be holding us up. But there's a few more screws back in here. I don't know if you can see them, but you can't get to them with a socket. And so I've been using a pair of channel locks, which, I mean, it sucks. I'm not saying it's great, but I don't have, they're 7mm headed screws. And I, for some reason, do not have my 7mm wrench. Now, another thing that I'm going to try and get you in and see, if I can, is that down in there, there's supposed to be a screw as well. You can see it if you look through the windshield and you get your hand over it like so. You can see it down in there, and it's a pain to get to, but with a series of extensions, a 13mm socket, and I use that little swivel, that helped a lot. And I was able to get down in there and carefully, because you don't want to swing up with the handle of your ratchet and hit the windshield. That would be bad. So you can just kind of carefully and just so get in there and take those out too. And I'm pretty sure that's also part of what is holding us up. So yeah, that should be the last update for now until I get this out of here, and then we'll really analyze it and see what all's going on. Ta-da! What a flipping production. I don't know who designed this dash and put it in this way, but I'd like to find the engineer that put this together, that designed this, thought it was a good idea. Oh boy, would I like to find him and just... Anyway, the dash is out. So to get it out, oh my gosh, is it a flipping production. You do have to remove the steering column, okay? Steering column is not hard to remove because if you have a console shifter, you don't have to mess with the shift cable. But there's 4 studs here with nuts on them. You loosen all that and it will drop. After you gotta pull it out of the steering shaft there, and there is a pinch bolt that goes and screws in, and not only does it pinch this and help close it, but it also sticks in a little bit and it stops it from pulling out. So you have to disconnect that, drop these, get rid of these nuts here, you know, move them down, and be careful because the steering column may drop on you. These are the nuts. And then you should be able to drop the steering column down and then pull it out, assuming all 8,000 freaking plugins are undone from it. So after you get the steering column removed, you have to remove the dash as an entire unit, obviously, because there's 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5 of these, let me find one, of these little gold screws that go on the back side and hold that dash together. Now, I am highly tempted to delete these. The problem is they offer quite a bit of rigidity to the whole thing, and they would stop the dash from rattling around as much and squeaking. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to put them back in. But to get all of that loose, to get this entire frame loose, there is 1, 2, yeah, there's just 2 bolts here. I had removed a bolt, get you in here, I had removed a bolt back there, which is part of the parking brake housing. You do not need to do that. But there's 2 of these on each side, and then there is, up here, 2 bolts that you have to remove, and there's just 1 on the other side, okay? So you have to remove all those, and then this entire unit will come out. And then you have to get the ones on the bottom too, around where the center console would go. And I believe the technical term for this is crash bar. I'm calling it a dash frame, but you should be aware that somebody might call it something different. So you get all that loose, you get those bigger bolts loose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then this should come out after you remove all the smaller ones on the bottom. But see, you can see them and get to them. The only way to get to these bolts up through here is through the dash panel itself. So I'll bring you over here. So after you carefully, I cracked it. This is super fragile. This is the trim for the defrost vents. After you remove it, there's all these little clips that come straight up, okay? We'll set that up there where it can get in the sun. After you pop that out, then you can, and I mean, you barely have enough room. I'll show you the setup I had to use to get in there. But you just barely have enough room to get through these access holes up here. And keep in mind that this is kind of upside down. So right through there is where the radio would be. And this is where the airbag is at. So you can get down through here. And they just barely gave you enough room. Probably because they put this in at the factory when the windshield was off. But you have to get down through here and reach in and get those bolts loose that hold this thing in the top. So, enormous pain in the ass, not an understatement. So the setup I had to use to get in there, and you got to be careful. I was using my 3/8 ratchet. You can go with quarter, but you better have pretty strong hands because those bolts are in there fairly good. So I was using this Deepwell 13, just the regular 3-inch extension, and then I also had a swivel, which is over there now, but that swivel gave me just enough extra length to barely get in there and get on that and still have enough room to turn my ratchet. A flex handle ratchet might be a little bit better, but the hard part is when you're turning, you have to kind of have your hands on this so that you don't actually accidentally bump that against the glass and crack it, because nobody wants to do that. Now, if you wanted to get real adventurous, you could pull the windshield out, and that would make it like 1,000 times easier to do this, but I'm not going to pull the windshield out. So my advice if you have any windshield issues that you want to get fixed and you have somebody come out and remove it, then do a whole bunch of other stuff while the windshield is removed. You know, I don't even want to know what it's like to have to remove the windshield on this, but that's kind of how you have to get in there and do that. And you can see right there is where one of those bolts went, and there's no room. Okay, there's none. And so you might think, okay, well, what if I can get these vents loose and out of there? Then I could get in there a little easier. You sure could, but guess what? You're not going to be doing anything. And why is there coinage in the vent? Ah! So now I'm mad at the engineer that built this, and I'm mad at the people that had this before, because it had to have been their annoying-ass kids that were in here just shoving stuff in the vents and making a mess all over the place. And now who do you think gets to clean it all up? Look at this. This is disgusting. Deep breath. Anyway, that's how you get this out. You have to remove the crash bar and the dash panel as an assembly. These are just alignment dowels, essentially, so you don't have to worry about them. But that's how you get the dash out on your 2007 Expedition. Now, like I said, whether or not you put those little screws, because on this side there's one here, and then there's another one down here. Whether or not you put those little gold screws back in is completely up to you. I want to tell you you should, but if you get this out, you'll realize, why you don't want to. And I really don't want to, because if it wasn't for those 5 little gold screws holding that plastic on, I would have been able to leave this in place, and I could have pulled that off. I could have been done with this like an hour ago, or 2 hours ago, actually. I think it's almost lunchtime. But it's so stupid. You don't have to remove the fuse box. There's some stuff that I removed you didn't actually have to, but a lot of it I removed just because I'm doing the carpet anyway, so it doesn't hurt. But this thing, I'm going to get this out of here the rest of the way, simply because I need to pull the vents out and inspect everything. I need to get the blower motor pulled and make sure that that's all clean, that the heater core is all clean. If you're going to have the dash out, you might as well go through here and make sure that everything is as clean as it can be. So I'll use compressed air on all that and get it all cleaned up, and then I guess maybe I'll move on to the carpet today. Not sure. But getting all of that out is definitely a production. It is not something I recommend for the faint of heart, but me not knowing what to do, I did get this done pretty quick, so there is that. I mean, it took me an entire morning, but considering I didn't know what I was doing, that's not too bad. So yeah, I'm going to remove these vents. This is going to get cleaned up good. We'll paint all that. We'll make it look nice, and then put it back together right. Not scratching this upon reassembly is going to be the hard part. And I've got gray stone for the top, because that is gray stone under there. So it'll get satin, nickel, and gray stone paint. We'll spruce it up, make it look nice. An extra layer of paint on that top dash is not going to hurt, because that's where all the sun gets. So yeah, that pretty much concludes the video. Installation is the reverse of removal. And I wish you luck, because this is just a crappy job to have to do. So if you have to do this, I feel very bad for you, but just imagine how much money you're saving by doing it yourself instead of paying a mechanic to do it. And if you're a mechanic and somebody is doing this themselves, imagine all of the misery you don't have to go through doing this, because this just sucks. Absolutely sucks. So I hope you guys found that information and such useful. If you have any questions, do ask me in the comments, and I will help you out to the best of my ability if I can. And then again, I'm going to keep saying this for a little bit. If you guys really want to send pictures or whatever, you can email me. There is an email address I set up specifically for viewers to ask me questions and send me pictures if you want. I may not be a professional, but I do try and help people when I can. So you have that option as well. You guys, if you do this, have fun. I'm going to end the video here. I'll move on with some other stuff. And the next video out on this will be carpet. So exciting.